Welcome to the Holiness Today podcast. Last week, I had the opportunity to connect with Justin Pickard and Jana Burnham of USA Canada NYI and gain a behind-the-scenes look at the planning for NYC 2026 in Salt Lake City. The theme of NYC 2026 is Wonder and will take place from July 1st to July 5th. Justin has asked that our listeners dedicate time to pray for this event each day at 8:26 p.m. or 2026 International Time. For details about NYC 2026, connect to the webpage in the show description. All right, I'm here with Justin Pickard and Jana Burnham, probably two of the hardest workers at the Global Ministry Center. I don't mean to denigrate anyone else, but these guys put together a General Assembly level event with a pretty moderate crew, and I'm always impressed with what they do. But we're coming up. This episode will highlight NYC in Salt Lake City, but we're coming up on that, and I'm just amazed as I did research on it, just how much goes into it. So I'm going to ask some questions leading up to that. But Justin, welcome. Jana, welcome. Welcome to the Holiness Today podcast.
Thanks.
Good to be with you.
So just to get us started, and either of you can answer this, but what is NYC? Well, I see that it goes back to 1958 is the first one in Estes Park, but if you could share just a little bit, how did it come to be?
Well, we get that question a lot. And if we're talking to people that really don't know what Nazarene Youth Conference is about, we often hear that people think we're talking about New York City. We're not talking about New York City. We love it, but it's Nazarene Youth Conference. As you said, really goes back decades. People don't realize that the catalyst for NYC goes all the way back to 1958, Estes Park, Colorado. It was called International Institute at that point, and it's gone through several iterations over the decades. But really, I think it's one of the best catalysts for connecting the past, present, and future church. And what I mean by that is it's always been about lifting up Jesus and centering young people. And so even from the very, very beginning days, it's been about things like worship and discipleship and spiritual formation, community service among our young people, and really elevating what they are doing and how God is working in their lives and calling them to missions and ministry. And so it's an exciting thing to be a part of, and to stitch together all of these events. We really think of it more as a movement than an event, but it's a movement in the life of our church that focuses on Jesus, and the audience is young people. So that's just a little bit of a sense of what it's about, and kind of in a nutshell, the mission of NYC.
And Jana, you, according to the video I watched, you were called into ministry at NYC 99 in Toronto. So this is a little personal for you. It's kind of fun for you to get involved with it. But if you could just share a little bit about how God has kind of called you into this position.
Yeah, I received a call to youth ministry in 1999. It had kind of started in the lead up that summer to NYC, and I'd kind of pushed it off. I don't know, back then I didn't know a lot of females in ministry, especially youth ministry. I'm not sure I fit the mold, or I didn't think I fit the mold of what I thought a youth pastor was, of the wild and crazy, unorganized, like to eat gross things and play all the games. Like, that wasn't me. And so I didn't see myself in youth ministry. But at NYC 99, I remember Dr. Jerry Porter speaking on Sunday morning with his Toronto hockey jersey on, and just calling students to respond to God, specifically if you had a call to ministry. And so from that moment, it kind of expanded my thoughts on what is God calling me to do. So I did take the path of youth ministry and served as a youth pastor for several years. And really, as I look back at even my years as a youth pastor, I think the gifts and the graces that allowed me to excel. Yes, I love students and I love the relational, but I do have some organizational gifts and graces. And so events were always fun to plan, right? And working out all the logistics. And so never thought I would be in this role. I actually was on the staff team in 2007. I worked for NYI then, and went to St. Louis on that NYC team. Just in a minor role, right? But served on staff and left that to become a youth pastor and loved being a youth pastor. So never thought I would come back and serve in this role. But Justin had a way. And I think God was a part of that. And so I have been on this team, left being a youth pastor, serving as a field youth coordinator to come back. And it really was because of what you hit on, Nate. Like, it's personal for me.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is an event that transformed my life in a really big way. It changed the trajectory of my life. And so to be able to give back to that, and do my part to make an event that other students, thousands of students, have that same opportunity to encounter God, to experience a call from the Lord to ministry or to something else, is just really fun. And so that's kind of how I came back to this. Just people ask if I, like being an event planner, and my response is no, I am not an event planner. I'm an NYC planner, but I'm not an event planner. Like, couldn't pay me to plan other events, but NYC, because it's personal, is something that I'll gladly go through and wade through all of the details and the logistics to make it happen.
So, both answer this, please. But Jana, you first. How many NYC events have you gone to in total, whether you were attending or going to working wise?
Yeah, I've been at 6 NYC events.
6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin?
I've been a part of 7. So
7. Wow. And at what point, well, I'm looking at the list. You got Estes Park, you got Switzerland, Estes Park again, Mexico, Washington, D.C., Orlando, Phoenix, Toronto, Houston, Phoenix, Tampa Bay. Now we're going to be in Salt Lake City. So at what point, so you guys work in UCRO NYI, USA Canada Regional Office NYI. At what point did it become specific to UCRO? I don't know the history on that. Is it because it was more broader and it was more global at one point? Is that my understanding?
yeah, it started out as really a worldwide endeavor. And we've had certainly some kind of global impact kinds of events. But yeah, there was a time where we kind of hit maybe a ceiling. And I think maybe Toronto 99 was a bit of that. That was our second largest NYC in attendance ever. And we had some global participation. But the reality set in that if we're going to expand this movement globally, it really needs to kind of be regionalized. We need to allow more people to participate around the world. And, with visas and travel and costs and all those kinds of things, we were a little bit limited if we have it in one time and place, around the world.
Yeah.
And so move to more of a regionalized approach. And it's really exciting now to see for the last decade or so, NYCs are happening all over the world on different regions, and the context is different, but the mission, the goal, the purpose is the same: gathering young people for discipleship and spiritual formation, and then launching them back out into the world on mission and ministry. And so it's exciting to see NYCs happening in Africa and Southeast Asia and Eurasia and just South America, Mesoamerica. I think we have 3 NYCs that are happening next summer alongside ours around the world. So what a much bigger vision for what God can do in the life of the Church of the Nazarene through our young people as we see NYC kind of spread out around the world.
Tampa Bay, if I'm reading this correctly, you guys were over 10,000 attendees. Is that right around the numbers? Massive, just absolutely massive. I'm assuming after that you guys took some Prudential PTO at some point, just to. But at what point does Santa's workshop start again on? Give us a behind the scenes. At what point do you start planning for Salt Lake? I mean, how does that? Either of you can answer this one, but jump in. Whoever's job it is, but. I'm assuming there's really not much break in between. You just kind of move on to next planning one. But what does that look like?
Yeah, we are actually sourcing and looking for the next city while we're planning the previous event. So we announced Salt Lake City in Tampa. So we'd already done some of that pre-work as far as looking to find the right city and see what doors would open, securing venues and hotels. So really, we're always doing something NYC. Typically, when there's a 4-year cycle for NYC, we're able to kind of slow down that first year and take maybe not all PTO, but we can take it easy that year right after an NYC and just kind of finish well, maybe start to vision a little bit. Tampa Bay to Salt Lake was only a 3-year cycle. So we didn't really get as much of a break. And so maybe that was harder, but it was also fresher on my mind. So some of that feels a little bit easier. Now, I don't know that we'll always want to do 3-year cycle. I don't think my stress level could probably handle that. But we're really, yeah, we're 2 years out for sure is when we're recruiting our team, we're pulling everybody together. And then that last year before NYC is jam-packed with executing every single detail and more that we can think of.
And the secret to this, and even on a shorter cycle that Jana talks about, it's really the people that we draw in, the teams that we lead, who make this happen. And we just are constantly grateful to the Lord for the people that He brings our way to do a lot of the great work that's done, to till the soil, to work in the cities, to work with Jana on the logistics and the coordination. We really couldn't do it without our regional NYI council, who serves as our lead team. We have a phenomenal production team as well, and then Jana coaches up the NYC coordinators from every one of our districts. We really use this as a leadership development opportunity as well for our district leaders, and so they raise up leaders that we empower for ministry and coordination. And so that means we can have a kind of a small but mighty team here in the office who's leading teams and empowering them to really pull all the pieces together. And that's really where Jana shines. She pulls so many different people together and coordinates them well. There's just a real synergy and almost kind of a family atmosphere as we stack hands together with these teams to pull off this, really, really large event with a million moving parts.
Yeah.
But the Lord really helps us and goes ahead and sets the path and puts the right people on our bus to make it happen.
Yeah. And the theme for Salt Lake is wonder, taken from Psalm 65:8. Is that the verse?
Yeah.
I was reading it this morning in the King's language, and I was like, well, I'm glad they didn't go with tokens. It could have been an arcade event at that point, but wonder probably sounds better. But so is the theme planned out at Tampa Bay? Is that already planned out then, or is there? How does that work into theme planning? Share a bit about that too.
Yeah, so the theme development is really a discerning process. We work with, again, our leadership team, our regional NYI council, and our production folks, and lots of creative thinkers, but it's really a process of discernment. And we spend a bit of time thinking and praying about what is God up to in the lives of students today? What might He be up to in the lives of students, years from now? And then we just kind of soak in that over time as we ask the Holy Spirit to guide and direct the mission and message of each NYC specific to a time and a place for our students. And so through that process of discernment, we came up with this wonder theme that we feel like the Lord really gave to us. It really matches the landscape of Salt Lake City. That passage you mentioned, Psalm 65:8, is kind of where this comes from. It says, "The whole earth is filled with awe at your wonders. Where morning dawns, where evening fades, you call forth songs of joy." And we're just really leaning into this idea of the wonder of God, His glory, His majesty, His holiness, and kind of the awe that inspires in us as His created, humanity, and really the wonder of God. And it really fits well with our students, right? Students are asking lots of questions. They're seeking. They're curious. And we think that in Salt Lake City, surrounded by this beautiful setting, the
Yeah.
mountains, just a beautiful landscape, that God wants to draw these students again to Himself and bring transformation to their lives. So a lot of things go into that theme development, and then we just continue to flesh it out. And throughout Scripture, think about how many places we can unpack and lean into the story of the wonder of God, His majesty, His glory, even a little bit of the mystery, and then how we, as His crowning creation, might launch back into this world to continue to be about seeing the kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. So what a better we can't think of a better theme for 2026 than this idea of wonder.
And how does the theme connect with the speakers? I mean, I'm sure there's just so many moving parts. I mean, as I was just trying to even just prepare for this interview, I thought so many ways we could take this. But as that discerning process is going in, theme planning, speakers, what they're going to speak on. I don't know if you can share a little bit on that, but fascinating for me to see all these moving pieces.
Sure. So, we really, again, a process of discernment and intentionality. We really want this to come together. So as the Lord kind of prompts in us this big umbrella theme, then we begin to flesh out and look at how does everything that we do and say kind of focus our students around this theme of wonder. So yeah, to the speakers, we're not just looking for engaging, creative, fun speakers for our students to hear, but how might we have seen the wonder of God in their lives and in their message and how they live and how they articulate that. So we work to find speakers that will engage students, from a variety of different perspectives that will kind of help layer on these scriptures and messages and yet all be tied together. So we work with them well ahead of the game to talk about the kind of the big picture and how they fit into it and how their unique story and testimony and even style of delivery might be used by God to impact students and to call them to mission and ministry. It's not just about the splash zone of NYC, it's about the ripple effect too. And we know that students go away from NYC often having a kind of a mountaintop experience or a particular speaker that God really uses to speak to them in a profound way and kind of be a catalyst for transformation in their lives. But what's really exciting is when they kind of head back home and the ripple effect of what happens in that NYC moment, in those services, through those speakers, that God's Holy Spirit goes with those students back home and back to their schools and back to their communities, and they kind of have a ripple effect of the transformation being fleshed out in their own context, their own neighborhood, and their own families, and that goes back to God's work in and through every detail. The speakers, all the way to even how we represent the rec hall or the experience or the ministry projects in the city. Everything comes back to the mission and message that we kind of center and try to engage our students around our theme and what God might be saying to them at this point in time.
You said something there that I want to ask both of you individually, but in your history of NYC 7 and 6, is there any message that sticks out to both of you that you recall back and say, and again, I'm not asking you to pick favorites, but it's like, man, that one sticks with me, maybe more recently or in the past. And whoever wants to go first on that one.
Yeah, I have a couple. One from when I was a student in 99. I just remember the theme of I think it was our morning sessions with Ed Robinson, and how he brought a pair of sandals and just focused on that humility and servant leadership. And I think as I've grown as a leader, grown in opportunity to lead people, that has just stuck with me. The importance of being a servant leader, and not a powerful, demanding leader. The other one, I think, through multiple events, is Eric Samuel Tim. He's probably one of my favorite speakers, and he always just does such a great job. But I remember in Louisville when he had a table and invited some students, and Mark Holcomb, as the NYC pastor, was a part of this, and that's kind of how we ended the session, with communion at the table. And again, that's just been as a youth pastor and as someone who leads and offers the practice of communion and the sacrament of communion. That's just been a really powerful image for me to remember, that we all, no matter who we are, no matter our differences, we all come to the table and we're all equals at that table, but there's also room for everybody at the table. So those are just two different experiences for me that have impacted my life.
Yeah, I think there have been a number of moments for me, but maybe it wasn't so much a speaking moment, but I go back to 2015 and the very opening moment, kind of the the stage is set, the lights come on, and there's this moment as we start the worship that it just, I don't know, I felt like the Holy Spirit just flooding over me. We were leaning into our theme, Thy Kingdom Come, and we were really uh, raising up the Lord's Prayer over the course of the week and
Hmm.
helping our students to really unpack and understand what it meant to be a part of this kingdom of God, and praying, you know, that that heaven would come to earth, that his will would be done here and now as it is in heaven. And that worship, that time of worship, I think is one of the most special times for me with NYC, to see close to 10,000 teenagers worshiping God, lifting up Jesus, doing that in a spirit of unity and authenticity, and kind of, uninhibited. So many times I think students uh, just need to be reminded that they're a part of something so much bigger than themselves. And when they see this arena filled with 10,000 other students like them worshiping together, there's just a amazing spirit there. And that 2015 year for me, when we opened up that worship, was just really a special moment of recognizing that we are all worshiping God together, and we're a part of this kingdom that is so much bigger than any of us individually. And it's just such a powerful moment for me of unity and worship together.
Jana, a question for you. If I'm a student listening to this podcast and just thinking about it, maybe hearing about NYC for the first time, what do I expect? What does it look like when it's like, okay, I'm going to go and I get on the plane. What's it going to be like for a student that shows up in Salt Lake City?
Amazing. It is going to be, yeah, so awesome. But so many things happen. One, it's early mornings, it's late nights. There is no downtime, no time to be bored. We pack the schedule, but main sessions, which I think the incredible speakers that we've been talking about, the worship, like Justin mentioned, and what I love about our sessions, maybe more than anything, is that we try really hard to be intentional about remembering the student in the seat, right? So we're trying to gear the worship set list, the speakers, all the graphics and everything. What will speak to and resonate with our students? How will they encounter the Lord? So main sessions are awesome. You'll have opportunity to get out in the city and participate in our ministry with other projects, to give back to the city and to serve in those ways. So that's always a good thing. We have discipleship experience, like the experience where you can really just journey through, have some time to pray and reflect and continue to grow and explore our theme of wonder and experience God in that way. There is so many fun things in the rec hall. From, checking out some of our Nazarene colleges and universities, their booths, but also so many fun things and sports things. So I think one of the best things too is you get to experience all this with your friends from your church and your district. You get to meet new friends. So I mean, we jam pack every single moment, but it it's something that maybe is once in a lifetime for most students, maybe twice, but it's something that you'll want to come back to. And I know that because it's something I want to come back to, right? I went as a student and I want to keep coming back, but I have to remind myself it's for the students, it's not for adults. But yeah, I just think there's something for everyone. You'll get to eat lots of good food and see a new city and experience travel and all the fun things that the districts do. But yeah, students definitely don't want to miss the opportunity to come to Salt Lake City with us.
Yeah,
So
I think
what?
it's
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, Justin, jump in. Go ahead.
three words that come to mind that we hear from students all the time, after NYC, but community, impact, and fun. As Jana mentioned, you're going to experience this amazing life transforming kind of mountaintop experience, but with old friends and making lots of new friends. You're going to build some new community with your district and with people across the country, across the region, maybe even around the world. So that's huge. And then impact, not only impact on your own life, but the opportunity for you to impact this city through the ministry with others projects and some of the other things. So impact is huge. And then just good old fashioned fun. We have a real strong theology of play, and that's been kind of baked into a lot of
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
When you get 10,000 teenagers together, it's going to be fun. There's going to be lots of energy. We're going to have a good time together, and we celebrate that and really lean into that. So it's going to be amazing.
I get this could lead into a funny question, but again, if I'm still pretending to be the student, what should I pack? What should I not pack? What are some of the things you're like, don't bring that? Any insight on that for me?
Yeah, I mean, definitely pack comfortable shoes. I would say pack a long sleeve something. Although it's summertime, we're inside at a venue, and if you're anything like me, you get a little chilly. Here's what I would say about packing, probably the best though. Leave some space in your luggage, because we're going to give some pretty cool giveaways. Plus, your district will give you some others. We always like to trade t-shirts. So your district will have a really cool t-shirt that you can keep or you can trade or maybe both. And just look for a cool t-shirt that resonates with you. So I would say leave space because you're going to go home with more items than you came with. And then obviously like the obvious, right? Don't bring weapons, don't bring fireworks. You probably don't need to bring a lot of snacks because you're district leaders and we're going to give you food. So all of those things. But yes, leave space in your luggage because you're going to get a lot of fun extra things.
Justin, what's the craziest thing you've seen a kid bring
Oh, the craziest thing.
that you can share on a podcast? Probably. I should caveat that one.
Yeah, yeah. You just never know with students, right? But we've seen things like saran wrap. There's things that they think they're going to use for pranks or
Yeah.
for late night activities or just kind of being goofy and silly. But I don't know. I'd have to give that some thought. We've probably
Yeah.
seen some super funny things uh along the way, but I nothing comes to mind right off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
What's the weather going to be like? It'd be a little less humid than Tampa Bay, I assume. A little less hot than Phoenix.
it's kind of
Looking
a
like
dry,
good weather.
high desert, arid kind of a landscape. We've been told that that week in July is traditionally the driest of the
Right.
year. So we're hopeful that it'll be a nice, warm but not too hot kind of days with no precipitation. Um, Rain makes some of our projects and travel and things a little bit tricky, but it'll be warm. But yeah, nothing like Phoenix, and not near as humid as Tampa. So we think it's going to be kind of the perfect weather for a great NYC, both indoor and outdoor. Because we'll do some great stuff indoor with the sessions, the rec hall, and all those experiences. But then a big part of NYC is getting out into the community and impacting the community, and we will definitely be leaning into that too. So
If you've never been to Salt Lake City before, you might not realize that there are mountains all around
Hmm.
Salt Lake City. So while it does warm up, there's also kind of that coolness and the crisp air in the mornings and evenings. Middle or early July, not maybe as much, but when I've been there in July, I experienced it a little bit. So it's really beautiful, and you get a little bit of that. Maybe you can just trick your mind into thinking that it's
Yeah.
cool mountain. You're up in the mountains and it's cooler.
Yeah. Will you guys be doing any hiking in the mountains? Is that something that some of the districts might do, you think?
Yeah, I think some of the districts will. We won't attempt to take
Yeah.
10,000 people on
Yeah.
a hike, but some of the districts will. There's a
Yeah.
really cool spot that we've been to that overlooks the city. That's just a short hike. And then, yeah, within 45 minutes to an hour, there's a couple places that you can go and do some hikes. I know some districts are doing little floats. There's the Olympics have been in Salt Lake City, and so there's some Olympic spots you can check out.
Yeah.
And kind of see where actual events took place and will take place again because they're hosting the Olympics again in a few years. So, yeah, there's lots to do in Salt Lake City. I think I didn't know all of that. I wasn't real familiar with this city, but there is a lot to do, and it's a real up and coming city. The downtown area is yeah, it's really nice and clean, easy to navigate and get around. So we're really excited about those pieces too.
And Justin, this episode should be coming out on October. Wow, we're already in October. October 2nd. So if a student's listening, what should they know at this point in time? Registration's still open, my understanding is correct. Is that right? Where are we at on
Registration
the process?
should still be open at that point. Everything funnels through their district, so they really need to connect with their district leaders. There's a few little different kind of dates and costs and things that are relative to their district. It's kind of interesting to note, but a student or even a church can't just register and attend on their own. You have to come kind of embedded within your district, and that's on purpose. We're really trying to build this community that we've talked about at the district level. So talk with your district leaders if you're not aware, but even if you missed the early registration deadline, there's still opportunity to get involved and to register. So check in with your district leaders and don't wait. I would also say to get working on raising money, fundraising. We recognize that NYC is a big spend and can be a heavy lift for students and parents and churches. But we've just heard story after story of students and families who are committed to getting to NYC, how God just helps them, raise the funds and pull things together to experience NYC. So definitely something that's worth doing all you can to not miss it. It kind of is a once in a lifetime opportunity, although with the next NYC set for 2029, another 3-year rotation. A few more people will have opportunity to go multiple times, but we always encourage people to consider going their first time because you never know what might happen, the second time around. And if you get to go twice, that's just a bonus. But get to work on it. Check out, you can get the initial information at NazareneYouthConference.com. There's also some cool things there that you can see, kind of some past NYC events. So you can look back over the past, you can watch bits and pieces of services and sessions and get a sense of what NYC brings. So NazareneYouthConference.com is a great place to get a little bit more information and then connect with your district leader.
I'd also say to start following us on social media. We've already released our speakers for the event. You can see those on social media or on the website. And while it would be really cool if I could announce one here, I don't have any to announce, but we're getting ready to share some of our artists and our concerts that will be happening. We've been in communication with some artists, and so that's going to be coming here in the next month or two. And so they're going to want to be tracking that because there's going to be some exciting news coming on that.
Yeah.
And I'll put all of that in the show notes so that, if they're listening to this episode, they can just click on that. But I was just going to say the NazareneYouthConference.com website is pretty cool. That's what I was playing around with this morning. A lot of information on there. Pretty neat. What is the anticipation for registration? You guys got projections on how many you're thinking are going to be there? Is it too early to tell?
Well, we think we might go above and beyond where we were in Tampa Bay. We have been working with our district NYI leaders, and they have kind of set some goals and projections. And if those ring true, we'll be sitting at about 10,000 participants. So by the time we add to our student and adult participants, our volunteers, our staff, our speakers, that we might be hitting close to 10,500. I don't know. But I do think that we're on a path of increase. And so far, we've hit some milestones and we continue to grow. It's so fun every day to come in and watch the registration ticker that we can see behind the scenes. So it's continuing to grow. And I know registration trends right now, everybody tends to wait till the last minute. So I really think here in the next month and a half, we're just going to continue to skyrocket with our registration. So super exciting.
The early registration numbers look good. Look better than Tampa is what you're saying. So that's good.
They really do.
Good. So Justin, I'm going to ask it another way, and this is for both of you. Maybe not funniest thing a student's brought, but maybe funniest memory or something that you think back. It's probably too many of them, but maybe something fresh on your mind you guys talked about behind the scenes. If you remember that, something you could share on the podcast.
Well, funniest, that's an interesting word. I'll tell you, we have challenges all the time and people don't realize sometimes what goes into it. But I can remember one in particular where right before somebody was set to go on stage, before they were supposed to do a creative element, and they just were not feeling well. And I remember kind of all of the production folks and us kind of getting our heads together. What are we going to do if this artist, can't go and doesn't make it? And it was kind of a creative movement kind of element. And I'm thinking, oh man, that's not in my wheelhouse. So it's not going to be me. I'm not stepping in. Nobody wants to see that. But there are always those moments, right, where you plan and prepare, so hard, and then things come down to kind of a curveball right at the end. And yet that's, I think, where sometimes we kind of get to shine, and it's a little bit fluid and a little bit scary, but it is kind of fun to see how the Lord works even through those kind of breathless moments where you're not sure what's going to happen next. But things really turn out really good.
Mine was not so much funny at the time, but we were talking about it this morning and we laughed about it. So I guess it's funny now. It was in 2019, and one of our um, usual things is to give all the participants a water bottle that they can use on site, right? Some of the venues don't allow just any water bottle in. So that's just been a trademark of our event. So we were preparing for, we arrived in Phoenix, we're preparing for participants. And on Tuesday, the event starts on Wednesday. So maybe it was Monday, we got word that these water bottles weren't going to make it. The truck that they were in had an accident and they weren't going to make it in time. So we had no water bottles. And I mean, I can go to Walmart and get a lot of things, but not 9,000 water bottles, like reusable water bottles, right? So we kind of scrambled and pulled the team together, and we're able to find some water bottles that were going to be a couple hours away. So, okay, we had some drivers and we sent them. And so there was a whole lot of just
Yeah.
funny situations that came through drive down there, and the people they were picking them up from, and they weren't sure they were actually going to get the water bottles or that they were going to fit in the truck. They got it back. And I just remember being at a dinner with all of our volunteers on Tuesday, and we use, walkie-talkie radios, and all of a sudden across the radio, my husband, who'd actually been one driving the truck to go pick them, radios in, we've got the water bottles and we're headed back. Our ETA is whatever, and it was a couple hours away, but everybody that was on the radios was just like, first of all, they're a couple hours away. How are we hearing them in our radio? So we had really good radios, but we were so excited. Again, wasn't funny at the time, but now it's one that we look back and always wonder, where are we going to have to go find water bottles this time if they don't show up? But again, God is faithful, just like Justin was talking about, and he provided water bottles.
Yeah.
Not everybody liked them. They weren't what we originally had hoped for, but they worked. They fulfilled the purpose, and nobody knew that we'd had challenges.
Well, it's those stories that illustrate just how difficult it is to pull one of these things together. But one of the ones that may be a story, maybe you guys are handling it well, but and I don't remember if it was either you that said this or someone else, maybe it was Kelsey. Uh, you guys are planning this, and it's also World Cup season in 2026 summer. Is that right? So what's the logistical, or is there hair pulling out with that? Or maybe it's been smooth sailing, but what's that been looking like as you've been planning that while there's a huge global event also happening in the United States?
Yeah, well, this is the first time it's happened, so we probably don't know what we don't know. But a few of the things that we've just run into have more to do with transportation. And so in the United States, there are only a certain number of buses, and not so much even buses, but people with their CDL and qualified to drive buses. And so that's one thing that we've heard from some of our districts, and even us as an event perspective, as we're looking into transportation, that even though there are not any World Cup games taking place in Salt Lake City, there's just a shortage on buses and bus drivers. And so just trying to think strategically about that. For instance, any of those, Kansas City is a site for the World Cup. And so they are looking for a lot of buses to bring, players, fans, referees, all of that into the stadium for that. And so what we've heard is that they've got all the buses and drivers from like as far north as Omaha down to Oklahoma City, over to St. Louis and Denver. And so anything in there, and even though there's not a game happening during NYC, they've taken it like for the whole summer, just a reserve of those. So just some challenges like that that we're like, never would have thought that would happen. But here we are. And we don't, I guess, give as much back to the industry as the World Cup does. So we're not first on their priority list to service, but we're finding some options. I think that's one thing about NYI is we are creative and we can come up with another option, and maybe we'll be down to option 4 or 5, but we'll get it figured out.
Justin, is that the biggest challenge so far? It's probably hard to pick a biggest challenge, but what are you guys facing here on the clock right now?
Yeah, I mean, we've had numerous challenges with this NYC. In fact, a lot of ways, it's been maybe the most challenging. This will be my 4th NYC to lead from this side, and it's probably been the most challenging lead up. We've been stretched in a lot of ways. Some of you may know that, we had contracted for the arena, as we typically do for our main sessions, and due to the purchasing of a hockey team there in Salt Lake City and some renovations, that completely changed. And so we've had to pivot, and we're excited about the solution that we've come up with, but it's so much is new what we're kind of navigating in Salt Lake City. And it's really the whole landscape of Salt Lake City is different. And that's exciting, but it is challenging, and it does present some new opportunities for us. So appreciate Jana's flexibility, and really our lead team, our production team. So many teams are working in new and creative ways, and so that's super exciting. But it does present some real challenges for us working in that city. And so another example of that even is our Ministry with Others projects. Really, a hallmark of NYC for decades has been the impact on the community. We want to impact the community and do it in a way where we kind of leave the city better than even we found it. We really want to serve the city well. And so we go in years early and find out what are the needs of the city. How can we work with churches and schools and nonprofit organizations to really serve the city well? You may know that we only have a small number of Nazarene churches in the entire state of Utah. So we've had to kind of reframe how we think about serving the city through our Nazarene presence, because it's just not as large as maybe some of the other cities we've been in recently. But I tell you, our handful of Nazarene churches have been amazing. We're working through them with some neat project ideas, and we're going to be literally praying over almost literally the entire city with kind of a prayer walk emphasis that's going to be part of our Ministry with Others projects, where students are going to be prayer walking the city in groups all over. 3 different days. We'll be mobilizing about 3,000 participants every day out in the city to pray over the city, while they'll also be building care kits to really serve the region and around the world with some kind of crisis care kits that we're building. So just rethinking almost every piece of NYC to strategically impact the students that are there, but also the community that we're serving in. And so it's been an interesting journey, challenging, but God's opening all kinds of doors, bringing all kinds of new opportunities for us that are exciting.
Justin, what was your first NYC you worked on?
The first one that I worked on this as regional youth coordinator was 2015 in Louisville, the second one in Louisville.
And since you've been there, there's been no repeats. So planning an NYC is like planning obviously it's like planning a new event each time. That's a dumb question, but it's rethinking it every time for the context of where you're going. That's impressive.
It really is. We try to, learn from the things that maybe didn't go so well. And, we want to make sure that we're not just kind of in a copy paste mode with NYC. So I talked about that discernment process.
Right.
But we also don't need to recreate the wheel on everything, right? So we try to leverage the things that we've learned and how we can just continue to add value to the event, lift up our students, and put together a really, really quality event. And we hear so many times from students and leaders the quality of this event for students. I think sometimes in youth ministry we feel like we're pretty good at taking some of the leftovers and kind of making it work, but for NYC, it's the first fruits. We give the very best that we have as a church to our students to again lift up Jesus and center high school students. And I think they recognize that the church is really rallying around them with a really, really well put together and designed event that impacts them and uses them to impact the community. And I think the whole church, the whole denomination, our whole region finds that as we kind of lift up our young people, they give back so much to the church. And when they return home, our churches, we just hear from our churches and our schools so much about how God just, raises the tide of excitement and mission and community as students come back to their local churches and really give back and kind of overflow from NYC back into our local context, our schools, and it's just exciting to see that ripple effect.
And Jana, was your first 2019 that you worked on officially? Is that my memory?
That
Okay.
was the first.
Yeah. Yeah. So probably many things, but what is God teaching you right now through this planning season?
Well, it was funny. Justin mentioned how he appreciates my flexibility. That's not really a strength that I have. So I guess God is teaching me that flexibility and to not hold too tightly to anything. But I think with that is also the reminder, and it's a basic thing, right? But as much as I love NYC and as personal as it is for me, and even more personal in 2026 because my oldest daughter will be a participant,
Hmm.
it's not my event. Like I care deeply for it and I want to be a good steward and I want to give it all that I can. But even more so, God cares about this event. It's his creation and the students are his children, right? And so I think that's something that God is continually just kind of reminding me and prompting me of that I don't maybe know as much as I think I do about NYC, and I love it, but I don't love it as much as he does. And the Church of the Nazarene, I don't love it as much as he does, and he cares deeply for all of us and our success.
Justin, what's God teaching you right now?
Yeah, I think that he really is in control and he's sovereign and he knows best and sees best. We've talked a little bit about the challenges that we've faced, and in our office and with our lead team, we've been talking about this motif of canoeing the mountains. It really feels like we are canoeing the mountains with this NYC. Things are so different for us. And yet God is showing his faithfulness in the midst of some really significant challenges that we are facing. But he's uh, reminded us that he goes ahead of us, he goes behind us, and he goes with us as we're kind of navigating new waters and new landscapes with this. So the reminder of his faithfulness is real for me, and we've seen it time and time again. And I guess maybe I need to stop being surprised at how God is showing up in powerful ways to help us um, make it through and kind of carve out some new paths for how we think about mission and ministry with our students, and knowing that he's continuing to be faithful to this movement, as Jana mentioned, that we're stewards of, and that's what we really see ourselves as, stewards of this movement, and just so thankful to be a part of what God's doing through NYC.
Now for the important questions. Jana, this one's for you, so get ready for it. Would you rather have to plan all of NYC using only a flip phone or communicate with every student attending using only emojis?
Oh goodness. Um, I don't know that my emoji knowledge is that good. So probably the flip phone.
The flip phone,
I mean, that just takes me back to my first cell phone, right? So I could do that.
pushing the buttons like this, so mashing them in. All right, Justin, this is related to something you just shared, so I'm going to try and tailor it a little bit. But would you rather have to get on stage and perform whatever that was, a choreographed dance or whatever that was, or have to clean every single bathroom in the venue by hand that evening after the event?
Wow. Well, maybe I'll change it and say not so much which would I rather do, but which would the audience rather have? Nobody wants to see me up on stage. You won't find me there often, if at all. You know what? I'm happy to work behind the scenes, and I often tell my team I don't want anybody to do anything I'm not willing to do. So we really do take a servant leadership approach to everything that happens. So it wouldn't surprise me if I actually get draw the straw to do some bathroom cleaning, and if that's what's needed,
There you go.
we'll jump in and do whatever is needed to make the event go over
Servant
well.
leadership right there. That's good. All right, this is for both of you. Would you rather be in charge of feeding all of the hungry teenagers after one of the nights, something goes awry and you have to logistically figure that out? Um, or organize the transportation for each single student back home after the event?
Oh, food, hands down. I mean, you can call all the pizza places, you can mobilize, you can get
You
some
can
food.
mobilize food fast.
Yeah, transportation. Yeah, I've worked with transportation companies. That's not my favorite thing.
Not
So,
your thing. Justin,
See,
how about you?
I was going to go with the transportation because man, hungry teenagers, I don't know. That's a tough
That's a
audience,
catch.
right? So,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
like 24/7, they're hungry at midnight. We get calls like, "Hey, where can we order pizza at our hotel?" and every place is closed.
Oh man. I know I wasn't going to do I'm doing both on you, Jan. I said I would just do would you rather's, but this should be a fun one. So if you had a lifetime supply of any fast food restaurant, you can go there as many times as you want, don't have to pay anything. What do you choose?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. Justin, how about you?
Easy, Chick-fil-A. Yeah, that's
All right.
probably one of our team's favorites. So,
Yeah, that's
And
good to
it's
know.
an
Good.
NYC favorite. We always try to partner with the
yes.
Chick-fil-A in town because the
Yeah,
students love it too. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with Chick-fil-A. That's good. Well, as we're closing, what can our listeners personally be praying for each of you? And then I'm also going to put the connections where they can be praying for NYC. But personally, what can they be praying for each of you?
um, yeah, I think I mentioned a moment ago, my daughter is going to be a participant. And so trying not to like place the expectation that she'll have the same experience that I did, or
Mm-hmm.
not just at my NYC in 99, but I've had incredible experiences at all of them. But really just want her to encounter God in a super
Yeah.
unique and special way. And so that's always, one for me. And we work with the youth group at our local church, so not just my daughter, but all of our students that we are in connection with. And then I think just in the ways that we are planning, I know that we will continue to have these challenges and these mountains to canoe, and so for the strength to rely on God to give us the strength to go through that, because if I try to do it on my own, I'm not going to make it till July, and I know that.
Yeah.
So that would be for me.
Yeah, I would echo that. Prayers for strength personally and for our team and for wisdom. We work so hard, talked about kind of the discernment process, but just prayerfully asking God to show us each step along the way. Sometimes it's logistical considerations, sometimes it has to do with, scheduling. Um, but we just need the Lord to give us wisdom for every little detail. We want to be very intentional. We want the best possible experience for our students, but ultimately we want to lift up Jesus, and we need His Holy Spirit guidance, even in the day-to-day administration of this event. And I tell our team often, to me, the administration is the gift of hospitality. So how do we host these students well? How do we set the table and clear the table so that students can experience the Creator? They can commune with Him and grow in Him and abide in Him. And so everything that we want to do is to host them well. And so strength and wisdom in how to best do that for me and for the team.
Well, thank you both for sharing this time with us. I know you're busy, but thank you for taking an hour of time to give us an update. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you for listening to the Holiness Today podcast. If you enjoyed this production and wish to hear more, visit holinesstoday.org/podcast or find us on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts.